Alpha Nerd Entertainment.
What is going on, everybody? Steve here from Alpha Nerd Entertainment. I want to thank you for dropping by the channel today. I'm excited to talk about another top 10 video. Recently I spoke about the top 10 hardest bosses on the Sega Genesis in my humble opinion. Now I think I picked 10 really good bosses, but in video games sometimes the end boss isn't the hardest part. In many cases it's those closing segments of the game, the final stages, the last levels, the final marathon that leads up to the end boss. Those last stages can often be the hardest parts in video games. Well, today I've come up with 10 Sega Genesis games, what I think possibly could be the hardest final levels in 10 of the hardest Sega Genesis games ever made. With that being said, I hope you like these choices. Quick disclaimer, I'm excluding shoot 'em up games. All those old school shooter games are so difficult that really it could just be a top 10 list of just shooter games. So I'm excluding those and I'm only talking about games that I've played and beaten. With that being said, guys, let's check out the 10 games I've selected for the top 10 hardest last levels on the Sega Genesis. A correctly titled stage here, Buttville on Earthworm Jim for the Sega Genesis, is exactly what they're saying. Buttville. A pain in the ass, and that's what this level is. This level, by the way, is more difficult on the Sega Genesis than the Super Nintendo. As you descend here down this spiky hell, it is more narrow on the Genesis, making it that much harder to get all the way to the bottom. Now, this is just the opener. It's difficult, it's annoying, you get caught off guard, you're gonna die really quick and very easily. Now, later part of the stages will bring other difficulties such as massive swarms of bees and the beehives that you'll have to take out to make the bees stop spawning. Just a little tip there. And if you haven't got good at using the whip, well, this level is going to make sure that you do get good at using the whip, because you're not going to make much progress if you don't nail those pixel perfect shots. Another thing that makes Buttville such a difficult final level is it's just kind of a stress-inducing stage with the responding bees and dark level design and frustrating whip mechanics to make you traverse through the stages and not knowing exactly where the beehives are to prevent yourself from dealing with them. The longer it takes you, the more you'll be overwhelmed, and not being fully clear on where to go does make you have to explore to discover the path. That's a whole other part of the problem with Earthworm Jim and its final level here in Buttville. Other issues are these awful creatures right here that come out at random. They're like little, not little, but huge praying mantis-like insect creatures that will insta-kill you, chop you in half with one bite. They do sort of come out at random, and it does take some mastering to figure out how to kill them consistently. And that whip jump he just did there is one of the harder spots. Closer to the end of the stage, you will fight this obnoxious mini boss before the final boss, and it's very tedious, it's very annoying. As you can see, you're on a conveyor belt that has these spiky balls coming towards you, while the conveyor belt pushes you into a wall of spikes. So you must jump and avoid these and avoid that thing puking on you while landing some shots whenever you have an opportunity. Now, if you have the strong gun and 3 or 4 shots done accurately, you can eliminate this thing almost immediately. Miss those shots and you're going to be jumping around like this guy here, which is a huge fucking pain in the ass. So eliminate him, march your way towards the closing stages of this level, take out a few more beehives and a few more obnoxious little jumps, and then you find yourself at the end boss, and you've gone through the final level of Buttville once you're on this next green moving platform to what is kind of a lackluster end boss. Contra Hardcore, or for those of you who call it Contra Hard Corpse, its final stage is also a very difficult one as well. Now, truth be told, it's not all that difficult, but you know, once again, I do consider how these levels are for new players, people who are getting here for the first, second, third, fourth, or only 5th time. You're going to run into a whole lot of problems. Just getting this far without losing a life is kind of challenging in itself. This is a one-hit kill game, and that entry to this level does have a few spots where random minions can easily kill you. As we progress here, we come into this weird sort of acrobatic mini-boss, who is generally easy, but once again, for a new player encountering him, isn't going to know all the sweet spots and where to be and where to stand and what weapons to use, and you're probably going to encounter a death or two. Now, the thing about Contra is it is, once again, one-hit kills. So, really, if you only have 5 men at this level and you're newer to this game, you're probably not going to see the end boss. get through this pyramid guy, and things only get worse. Now, I don't know much of the lore of Contra, but this Red Falcon guy here, I just call him the dude with the claw arm, is difficult but easy. Lucky RNG can make him die quickly, giving you also have the correct weapon. Now, the thing about Contra is that when you do get hit and you do die, you lose the weapon you're currently using. And if you're used to using a good weapon, when you do die, you're going to lose your best weapons, making everything that much harder moving forward. Now, this boss does just sort of jump around and have a few good attacks, but again, he is really good at taking 1, 2, or 3 lives from a new player, making this fight difficult for those less experienced. So after a short conversation and a short cutscene, you find yourself face to face with Brown-Eyed Joe, or Dead-Eyed Joe, who is pretty easy himself, but he is also very good at hitting you just one time and taking one of those lives, and those lives are precious. If you start to stack up your deaths, getting to the end boss and completing this final stage is going to become a difficult task. Again, this final level isn't the hardest, but it is definitely still difficult enough, and it's still not quite over. So jump on this big rocket, kill some of the weird infested scum that possesses it, and get ready for one final mini-boss, nasty, grotesque worm creature that sticks inside of the missile. I don't know how the missile doesn't explode with this giant organism living inside of it, but nonetheless defeat this and you're on your way to the final end boss, and you've completed the last level of Contra Hardcore. Freaking Shinobi 3, The Return of the Ninja Master. Hearing that music, it's the first thing I want to talk about, but we're not here to talk about music, we're here to talk about challenge. And this level, its final stage, definitely has a ton of challenge for you. This exhaust port or mist or smoke that comes out can easily catch you off guard and by surprise and knock you to your death and your demise. Those rockets that shoot off the side of them can do the exact same. You learning the gaming mechanics and the jumping early, being a new player at these parts, can lead you to your own deaths, which are also very frustrating and very annoying. So if that wasn't enough to tickle your fancy, you're going to climb your way all the way up this elevator, all the way to the top, where there's more than enough random enemy fire, bullets, and laser cannons to shoot you, to frustrate you along your way to the final part that ramps up the difficulty a whole lot more than what you had to deal with thus far. And thus far, it's still been semi-challenging, but things are only about to get worse when you do enter inside of this mothership. So once you break your way inside of this mothership, this is when the bullshit difficulty gets ramped up 1,000. Now the game demands greatness from you, and it demands that you learn every ninja move that Joe Musashi has to offer, from wall jumping to the timed double jumping to ceiling grappling and careful maneuvering amongst all of those jumps and all of those acrobatic actions required, while avoiding lasers and landing on platforms and dealing with beginners' traps. Honestly, for the lack of a better word, this game brings the heat, it brings the smoke, it brings the fire, and it does everything in its power to stop you from succeeding and winning. Just looking at it, you can just see the level of platforming required and the level of patience you would need to traverse all of this. Now, the only way to get good at it is to lose, is to die, and you're going to die and lose and get game over and use continues many times as you continue to work your way through this. Now, the silver lining in all of this is that you will start to get good at it, and you'll start to do it dying less and less and less and less, and the mastering part of it becomes a lot of fun. But the frustration part of it is also very, very annoying. Like this spot right here, which actually has another beginner's trap waiting for you. You must hit those boxes with your shurikens, or else you'll fall to your death immediately. And it's just one other thing that makes this final stage that brutal and that difficult, and no top 10's final difficult levels would be complete without Shinobi 3 Return of the Ninja Master.
Strider for the Sega Genesis is a very difficult final level. By the way, this is a near perfect port. The Genesis version is almost identical to the arcade version. Now this final stage is very difficult, it's very frustrating, and it's very annoying. It's littered with enemies. Knowing where to be and when to attack and when to jump and when to move can make defeating some of these enemies up ahead very easily. Not knowing any of this can lead you into tons of traps, taking tons of hits, falling into pits, and just getting mutilated. This machine gunner right here can easily take you out if you are not quick and precise. This level brings everything. As you can see, there's just about everything under the sun all over the screen attacking him, and it only gets worse from here on out. So if dealing with tons of enemies all at once wasn't hard enough, now you can master the anti-gravity room, where you will fall not to your death, but you'll fall upwards to your death. Fall off here and you're going to shoot to the sky and to your death, and it's very confusing and very awkward and very frustrating part of the level. You got to jump on these spiky things, and the ends of these spikes, God forbid they touch you, they instantly kill you. So you must be pretty accurate with your jumping. This whole part requires a lot of patience and a lot of practice and a lot of getting used to. It's actually kind of awkward and a little bit stiff, and in some cases difficult for the wrong reasons, but once you get used to it, you do start to get used to the controls and you will start to get good at it, though that part is very brutal and very annoying. This annoying gravity room of this weird stupid ball thing is very obnoxious. I almost think you have to take a death to even get through it. Well, I like to jump and get thrown into the gravity pull and do tons of damage as quickly as possible. Taking your time is very frustrating. This whole part is just obnoxious as a whole, but this part in particular is one of the easier parts of the final level. So dealing with the easiest part of the level is this dumb ball. Defeat that and then fall to the hardest part of the level, in my opinion, where things just get really frustrating and really annoying. This laser-filled room is pretty tricky to dodge. You got to be quick with your timing and jump correctly so you don't get hit by those. They almost instantly kill you. 1.5 hits and you'll be done quickly. This gunner up ahead keeps his distance like a red devil from G&G. You want to be quick and aggressive with him, but he can often keep himself at bay like a red Aram from G&G, which makes him annoying, so lucky RNG goes a long way there. Here you have this big gorilla where you do want to be aggressive quickly. Now if you don't have your full blade like this guy, things are going to be really, really difficult, and you will not kill them that quickly, and you'll be stuck between the two, suffering death, suffering pain, starting over without your full-length sword, and everything's going to be that much more difficult. Now, given you have all the right things working for you, you're in this guy's situation dealing with this stupid dinosaur creature with your leveled up weapon, making everything as easy as possible. But it's not easy. It's brutal, it's hard, he made it look easy, but once you get to this point, this is where the last part of the stage comes to a close, and this part is easy. You more or less just ride this guy all the way to the end boss with one jump that provides some challenge. Basically, if you're here, you've gotten through the difficult parts of the final level in Strider. Number 7. Welcome to the Machine, of course, is a Pink Floyd reference for no apparent reason. Echo the Dolphin for the Sega Genesis takes the number 6 spot. Well, this auto-scrolling hell goes on for about 7 minutes on the original Genesis version. This is a very annoying, frustrating, obnoxious stage that's going to require your most utter, undenying attention and focus. You don't want to drift off for any length of time. Now the annoying music will almost put you in a trance. The slow moving auto scrolling will relax you and put you in a state of just not paying attention. That's the interesting part about this level and its difficulty. Everything looks the same, so memorizing it for 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes can be very difficult because everything kind of looks exactly the same. So you must be careful, stay on point, and keep Echo from getting crushed into any crevice. You want to avoid those obnoxious booger bubbles that come from the walls, and more importantly than that, you want to avoid these horrible little xenomorphs. If they swarm you and surround you and stick to you for even more than 1.5 seconds, they'll instantly drain your life bar that quickly. You will not survive. Don't get pinned out incorrectly at any wrong time and you'll be crushed. It's an auto-scrolling level where you're pushed back and forth, and you got to do it for a very, very long time. And it takes its toll on you mentally. Once again, it's weird, almost relaxing and bitterly soothing music, also irritating and obnoxious, again will put you into a trance, preventing you from paying attention. The annoying sound of the sonar, the weird anxiety of the claustrophobia that the level itself creates will definitely test you and push you to your limit. The only thing that makes this level easy is that you get an unlimited tries. You can try over and over and over as he almost dies right there, getting pinned and getting crushed. This is a very frustrating stage if there are frustrating stages to talk about. If you were to talk about top 10 most frustrating stages, this would probably be number 1 on that list. Again, the only reason this isn't higher on the list is because you have unlimited attempts and unlimited tries. And even if you do die and fail in one sit down, you have a password so you can come back here. And that is the only reason this level is not higher on the list. It is Welcome to the Machine for the Sega Genesis, Echo the Dolphin. If you've never played it, I strongly suggest that you do. It is a very unique experience. This game is a very creative and unique experience. And this level itself is just something everyone should experience at least once in their life if they consider themselves a true retro gamer. It is a PTSD annoying stage as he almost dies twice more, getting confused and getting thrown off, and the level will do that very easily to you your first dozen attempts. I challenge you to do this. Let me know how many turns it takes you to reach the end. Echo the Dolphin is number 6. Stage 6, the Inner Core. The number 5th hard final stage goes to Wolfchild for the Sega Genesis, also released on the Sega CD and Super Nintendo. The Genesis version is the best version of all of those in my personal opinion, but whatever version you play, you're going to be facing a very difficult final level. This final level takes place in what appears to be this weird, futuristic, annoying pyramid, and this annoying pyramid is full of enemies, and more importantly, full of traps. Tons of beginner's traps. A ridiculous amount of beginner's traps. And this pyramid is huge, and it goes on forever and ever and ever. No joke, this is a very long level. It's going to take a good runner of this game a good 7 minutes to get through. A new player is going to suffer death, pain, and misery over and over and over. They're going to burn through continues. This level does not hold back, and it is also extremely cheap. You see those statues right there? The two-headed snakes? In small areas, they will shoot this poisonous mist out at you, and they'll rapid fire kill you almost instantly if you don't handle them correctly. How you deal with them is you must punch out the mist that they shoot, but you must time this attack perfectly. Not timed correctly will result in you taking an insane amount of damage. He is displaying how you do it right now while taking big hits. It's annoying and it's tedious, because you don't just want to rush by all willy-nilly. There's a reason he's stopping and taking his time, because if he tries, he will die. And he'll encounter these things many times throughout this long, grueling level. Now, there's not much more I can say other than just look at it. The whole level is littered with traps, spikes, enemies, falling lasers from the sky, statues shooting missiles at you. You're just going to want to get your good weapons, stay powered up, stay in your Wolfman form, and progress carefully and not lose any of those weapons. You want to be as high powered as possible, so get that health bar up and get those good weapons and keep them. But you know what? Your first couple times getting here, you're going to be underpowered, under-equipped, and at the game's mercy, begging to just die. Dealing with these statues will defeat you over and over as you work your way through the growing pains of this final stage of Wolfchild. Number 5. Level 12, The Revelation, is the final marathon and last stage in Battletoads for the Sega Genesis. Though the NES version may be a good 20 or 25% more difficult than the Genesis version, you still can't deny the fact that this is Battletoads and it is hard. This final stage is confusing and annoying, and overall very frustrating. Now, when I played this game for the first time, I did find this game to be very difficult, and a lot of the levels leading up to this were very tough, but this is the one that got me the most. This level was very difficult for me, and I found it very frustrating. In fact, I found its music incredibly annoying. The first time I beat this game, I had to mute the music on this level because I found it so stress-inducing and anxiety-filling that I just had to silence it. It just made the experience that much more difficult. Now, I do kind of like this level, but at the same time, it just kind of makes me cringe in fear of painful memories of losing. I was happy by the time when I did beat this game because I've even 1cc'd this game and did it live on just more than that. Couple men extra. The part that makes this game so good is that you can get good at the game, and therefore the difficulty does fade with knowledge and experience, but that only comes with time. Now, it is rewarding to get good at this game and this level, but getting there is frustrating and very difficult. The level is a lot longer than it needs to be, even when executed quickly. All the little different enemies are very annoying. The ones that can eat you, these clouds that can just insta-kill you if you're not careful, and the weird, confusing way you traverse the level with the pipe and dealing with the wind guys. It's a creative level, but it's a very annoying level. These insta-kill spike balls are really, really obnoxious as well. Also, judging the distance is actually something I could critique about this level. As you rotate this thing to bring all these platforms around, it makes the jumping and the judging of those jumps that much more difficult and that much more annoying. Once again, the NES version may be more difficult, but it doesn't change the fact that this is a very hard game, and it's Battletoads taking the number 4 spot. And I absolutely hate this level, but I hate it because it's kicked my ass so badly, and there was no way it wasn't going to make my top 10 of hardest levels for the Sega Genesis. Mission 8, the final battle, is a bitch of a level, and this is a bitch of a game. Alien Storm for the Sega Genesis is a grueling, difficult beat-em-up experience. Now, I like this game a lot, and truth be told, I like this game because I like its difficulty. Now, the game itself is just okay at best. Move-wise, it's pretty lacking. The game is pretty basic and bare bones. It doesn't have a whole lot of different variety in the moves you can use. You just have to use the moves that you have wisely and correctly. Now, this game as a whole is a very precise experience from start to finish. It works very high on the premise of a beat-em-up game requiring just the right amount of effort to succeed. If you are very good in this game, you will see the game over screen. The game demands more than that. You must be very, very good, bare minimal, to see the credits roll in this game. And this final level just ups the difficulty that much more than all the levels previous. Now, it's a very demanding game. The game itself gives you just enough health and just enough men to win when playing very, very good. Once again, if you play very good, you will see the game over screen. It is a difficult game. Now, it's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, and practice will make perfect, but this final stage does have some weird door maze-like entries which will lead to tougher outcomes. Finding the correct path is key to success in navigating your way through this final stage, which throws everything at you and does a lot of damage very easily. The dash attack is something I learned to use well and often. In its final stage, it's the only way to separate yourself from the enemies that do swarm you, surround you, and overwhelm you. It is really brutal stuff. You're also going to want to use your special at the correct times and not make any incorrect pathway movements through these levels, or else you'll find yourself in unnecessary areas, fighting unnecessary enemies, taking unnecessary damage, leading to your inevitable death and inevitable game over. Though like I mentioned, this game is pretty simplistic and kind of basic, that doesn't change the fact that it is a very good beat 'em up. It's no Streets of Rage, it's no Final Fight, but for difficulty and challenge, its final stage is definitely for the very top of the list on the Sega Genesis pile. If you are anything but outstanding, you will not succeed. Just want to point out that this is my actual gameplay from my recent playthrough that I did last year. Now, as you can see in the final room here of this final level, the game still does not go easy on you. It gives you some fast, moving, strong enemies. Make your way through this final middle door here, reach the end boss, and you've gone through the last level of Alien Storm for the Sega Genesis, and it is tough. The number 2 spot, Final Marathon Kid Chameleon for the Sega Genesis. Once again, I've decided to use my own gameplay footage here so you can see me do it firsthand, so you can see how someone like myself gets through the level opposed to, say, one of the best gamers in the world. Just an average Joe gamer like myself getting through the Final Marathon. Now, this level is notorious for beginners' traps. It has a ridiculous amount of tricks and traps lurking ahead. Now, of all the final stages of this top 10, its level, the Final Marathon, is the shortest of the bunch, but anything but the easiest. It's debatably could be the number 1 spot. There are so many different things thrown at you in this level, and let's not forget the fact that it is in fact a winter level, therefore the whole surface is icy and slippery. I do like using Manny Axe here, the Jason Voorhees style character who has a great axe throwing projectile, perfect for the enemies. Also, I like the way he moves and how he jumps, making some of the difficult platforming here a little bit easier for myself, and it allows me to take my time to get through this level because you don't want to rush it. All the little tedious enemies lurking nearby are designed to hit you and knock you into those pits lurking, waiting below. Now, one of my favorite parts about this level and this game is just how good and how intelligent the level design is. As you lose over and over and over in this level, and you'll grow to appreciate the level itself because you'll succumb to its difficult traps one after another. And as you learn not to fall for them, you'll discover new traps the whole way. And you'll slowly make your way through this level, and it adds to the reward of getting there and doing it well. As I do it here on my first try in this playthrough, which is my personal best playthrough and my first ever 1cc of the game, it was a rewarding feeling because getting here with the experience and the skill allowed me to do the level and make it look easy, but the level itself is anything but easy. It is a long, grueling grind to the finish and is one well-designed level. Kid Chameleon takes the number 2 spot. Stage 6, Scene A, After the Rat, Dick Tracy for the Sega Genesis takes the number 1 spot for hardest final levels on the Sega Genesis. This first part here has to be spoken about as well because it is the first part of Stage 6, the final level. Now, this part is a fisticuffs level where you are unarmed and you have to be very smart and very, very strategic about your approach when dealing with these enemies. They have guns and dynamites, and in bunches they can be extremely dangerous, and just 1, 2, or 3 quick hits and you will be dead very, very quickly. You almost want to take your time here but not be too slow and lure the enemies to you so you can fight them one at a time. You get overzealous and try to fight too many people at one time, you're going to take a ton of damage, a ton of hits, and you're going to be dead very quickly. Now, this first part is the easy part. You will get good at this level. It'll test your patience and annoy you because it's a slow-paced level, and in some cases, if you want to keep your distance from the enemies, it's going to slow down the pace of the level even more so, but it's almost required because rushing through this is not wise. Now, again, Stage 6A here is the easy part, but it is just the lesser of two evils. You try to go quickly here and you're going to die a lot and often. Take your time because what comes next is one of the hardest things I've faced in all of gaming. Stage 6B. Stage 6, Scene B, Harboring a Fugitive. The final part of Dick Tracy before you go on to face Big Boy. And Big Boy is easy, by the way, but this part here down at the docks is one of the most brutal things I've ever played in a video game. This game will have you thinking on all levels, giving you anxiety in many different forms, as the enemies from the background shoot into the foreground and the enemies in the foreground attack you in a variety of different ways. You're going to be jumping, moving around, jumping into bullets, jumping into water, and facing death over and over and over. There is no rhythm to this. There really is no memorizing it. You can memorize it to a degree, but at the same time, it's pressed by the pace in which you push. Enemies lying flat on the ground require you to approach them with aggression, where other spots are going to require you to be extremely defensive and extremely accurate with your jumping and dodging skills. But wait, there's more. Sometimes the enemies in the background will force you to sit down and crouch and shoot, to dodge in ways that feel unnatural and uncomfortable. If you've gotten this far down the docks, you have done well. Now this part does have one lone checkpoint separating this part into two parts, making it a little more manageable, but overall getting this far in the level will be seen by very few people. I do not kid around when I say that this is the hardest thing I've ever done in any video game, is beating the docks in Dick Tracy for the Sega Genesis. Of all the difficult games I've played, this part has taken the cake. I once said that I think it might be easier to fight real gangsters down at a real docks than to deal with all these enemies and all this gunfire. This part is absolutely brutal. I haven't played it and beat it in close to 8 years, and I haven't tackled it since for the PTSD it caused me and stress it caused me in my many failed attempts. It is a great final stage, an epic final stage, and it does lead to a cowardly easy end boss, but the meat and potatoes of Dick Tracy is beating this part here.
Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed this top 10 hardest levels on the Sega Genesis. I really enjoyed it. Be on the lookout for future top 10 videos. There's plenty more to come, plenty more games, plenty more top 10s, and plenty more videos. No!